I'm Michael Bell, back with you with the CVB Challenge, the Christ Verse Per Book Challenge, in which we are looking at a Messianic text in each of the 66 books, showing Jesus to be the center of each and therefore of all the Bible. The book of Jonah stands before us. Chapter 1:17 says, "And Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights." Jesus himself explains what this has to do with the Messiah, with his person. It says in Matthew chapter 12, verse 38, "Then some of the scribes and Pharisees answered him, saying, 'Teacher, we wish to see a sign from you.' But he answered them, 'An evil and adulterous generation seeks for a sign, but no sign will be given to it except the sign of the prophet Jonah. For just as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the great fish, so will the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. The men of Nineveh will rise up at the judgment with this generation and condemn it, for they repented at the preaching of Jonah. And behold, something greater than Jonah is here." He might have said someone greater than Jonah. He's referring to himself. The actual Messiah has come. Jonah's ministry just pointed to the Messiah, but now the Messiah has come. Now, I think a valid question is, how can this rebellious, disobedient prophet stand for the Messiah? Well, it's true. In his disobedience and rebellion, he didn't stand directly for the Messiah, but he serves as a kind of foil, as a contrast to how the Messiah obeys where he disobeys, how he runs to do God's will, as opposed to how Jonah ran away from doing God's will. And yet, even this disobedient prophet had some positive things in his ministry that reflect on Messiah. I want to fast forward to the time when he's already in the ship, the storm has already started, and the sailors have tried everything, and they find Jonah in the hold and pull him out. And he says, "Guys, I know what the problem is. It has nothing to do with your gods," which are false gods, by the way. "The one true God of heaven and earth is seeking me, and he's angry with me because I'm in rebellion. But here's what I'm willing to do. You guys throw me overboard," and he expects to die when he's being thrown overboard, "and then your lives will be saved." Now, at that moment, Jonah is reflecting Christ in a positive way, because Jesus' life is given in exchange for our lives. We're those sailors who are in trouble, who are about to experience the wrath of God and go into eternity with that wrath. But Jesus offers to take our place. He can calm the storm of God's wrath. And that's pictured in Jonah. What's more is that these sailors represent Gentile believers. Now, Jonah was an Israelite, and he was all about Israel, but now he's in the middle of the Mediterranean, and there might be some Jews or some Israelites on that ship, but primarily they're Gentiles, and guess what? They come to faith. Here, this prophet would have never wanted to go and save Gentiles, but he does. And this prefigures the kind of reception Jesus will get amongst the Gentiles. Jesus has come to the lost sheep of Israel, but he's rejected by them. And by and large, Jews and Israelites do not come to faith in Jesus, but Gentiles do. And not only sailors, but Ninevites. Because when Jonah goes to preach to Nineveh, that whole city repents in sackcloth and ashes and believes, much to the chagrin of this ethnocentric prophet who wishes Israel would be saved rather than the Gentiles. Now, before we leave Jonah, I want to point something out that comes to light as we start looking at the dates of things. Now, Jonah's mentioned in connection with Jeroboam II. If you look at 2 Kings chapter 14, verse 25, Jonah, the son of Amittai, prophesies something about Jeroboam II. Now, historians then date Jeroboam II to between 786 and 746 BC. As we move back in time, BC, if this is Christ, the larger the numbers, obviously, the farther back we go. Now, this date's interesting because if Jonah is prophesying somewhere in this realm, this year represents the destruction of Nineveh. You see, Nineveh is eventually destroyed, not by fire after 40 days of preaching, but at least 130 years later, it finally is destroyed. So imagine the grace of God in sparing that city for 130 years. Now, this year is interesting because you know why? This is when Samaria, the capital city of Israel, is destroyed. So just shortly after the ministry of Jonah, it isn't Nineveh that's destroyed, it's Samaria, the capital city of Israel that he loves so much, that's destroyed. And you know who destroys Samaria? Yes, none other than the Assyrians, whose capital city is Nineveh. So there's a lot of irony here. His preaching has saved his enemies beyond his own national survival. Now, I believe we are in this period where the Jews have by and large rejected the Messiah, but the Gentiles have not been destroyed yet. And so we are here needing to preach to the Ninevehs of this world so that they might embrace our Messiah, who was in the belly of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights, but rose again. Now, Jesus is on every page of the Bible, including in Jonah. Shouldn't he be on every page of your life and mine?